to Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by BetNow.eu. Make sure you go to BetNow.eu, use the promo code TRUTH50 to get a 50% cashback bonus on your first deposit up to $1,000. You can also go through thegruelingtruth.com, click on the banner at the top of the page for BetNow. I am your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster, and now I want to reluctantly welcome in my co-host, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, I'm doing fine today. That's a nice introduction. Thank you. That's the nicest one you've ever given me.
All
Appreciate
right.
that. Reluctantly, I like that word.
All right. Well, I'm reluctantly going to welcome in our guests, too. We're going to start off with a man who was drafted by the San Diego Padres back in prehistoric days, back in 1987. Help me welcome to the show, Bobby Sheridan.
Hey, Mike, how are you? And Steve, you know what? I've been enjoying Galen Clavio's latest post of the 81 game, and the 80 game with Purdue and Ohio State, and I've been watching you play, and I really enjoyed that.
It's been fun, yeah. We've been posting them on. Yeah, I've watched several of those games. Geez, how old I am. And
I got to tell you, you started the game against Purdue, I think. I can't remember which game it was. I watched like 3 or 4, bam, bam, bam. But there was a game you started in your first 12 minutes, man. You were awesome. I mean, I'm serious. Grabbing rebounds, guarding, all over the place, doing great. And then there was one game where you weren't even in the lineup, didn't get in. And I'm like, well, what happened in those 3 weeks?
You pissed Bobby off.
It was interesting.
Yeah, that's called the doghouse, Bobby. It's called. I spent about a third of my life at IU in the doghouse, which means.
And then I have to mention one
it
more
happens.
thing. Then there was one other game where the video was kind of cloudy, so I couldn't see it as well, like the quality of the video. I think it was just the game I watched last night. It was Purdue when Katie was coaching, so it was 81. And I can't tell if it's 24 or 34, but, man, he's moving his feet. He's going from one defensive position to the next.
That was 24. That was Randy Whitman.
That was 24. that was Whitman, not me. Trust me. Yeah, that was Whitman.
Risley looks awesome. No, it was Whitman.
No, it was Whitman.
Yeah, because I was watching.
Not me.
It might have been that game at the start of it or something. I'm like, damn, Risley's a lot faster than what I remembered. Then I realized it was Randy Whitman also.
It's Randy Whitman.
All right.
That's not having HD.
We have somebody else to welcome in, unless you guys just want to kiss the whole show. Let's welcome in a man who is probably, I think that he should be sitting courtside for the Raptors. Help me welcome to the show, Lukas Weese.
Hey, Mike, it's great to be on the show. And Steve, Bobby, hearing you guys talk about Indiana basketball, it's always a pleasure. And can't wait to get started. It's going to be a great debate today. Looking forward to it.
All right,
and I'm still celebrating the Raptor.
Hey, Mike.
Mike,
can't we get Bobby? Can't we get Lukas credentialed for Toronto Raptors games? Aren't we big enough now that we can do that? We got the Sheridan report leading the world games. And everything.
If he wants to
we
drive
can't
down for
credentialed
Pacer
for the
games.
Raptors games now.
I don't know. I've never tried. And I think he's got
got
credentials for the Blue Jays. I'm sure wherever he worked for could get it.
Well, Steve, hate to break it to you, but I work for a company that provides tons of coverage for the Raptors. So I think that'd be a conflict of interest.
All right. There you go.
All right, let's start off. We're going to talk baseball today. We're going to talk about our analytics killing baseball. We're going to start off with Mickey Callaway, the New York Mets manager, who was fined $10,000 with one of his players yesterday, or I think the fine was yesterday. But, Lukas, you want to run through what happened, or at least what we're told happened?
Well, I think it's important to lay out some context before getting to the nitty-gritty details. And really, I think my verdict here is just that there is a real cultural cancer within the New York Mets organization. And I think it starts at the top with the two Wilpron brothers who have owned the Mets for many years and time again have gotten themselves into PR nightmares where they don't take accountability for the actions of their employees. They've operated on tight budgets where they haven't been able to grow and expand and allow the New York Mets to be a successful organization. And it just allows these situations like we saw with Mickey Callaway to happen and not that big of a penalty for it. I mean, $10,000 to these guys is, it's pennies. And just to get into the details, of course, the game happens. The Mets haven't been, they've grossly underachieved this season, even though they have some good players. Noah Syndergaard, Jake DeGrom, Alonso, who is the NL Rookie of the Month, hitting over 400. The press conference happens. They lose to the Cubs. Some controversy about Mickey Callaway's decision to leave a pitcher in longer. The press conference happens. And then Tim Healy, who's a reporter for Newsday, a big New York organization, he stays behind, waits for Mickey Callaway to come out of his office, says to him, "See you tomorrow, Mickey." And this then led to a gross overreaction from Mickey Callaway, where he, verbally, uses profanity towards the reporter, cusses out the reporter, then proceeds to escalate the situation where he then gets his own New York Mets PR staff to then kick for, to remove Tim Healy from the clubhouse. Tim Healy refuses because, of course, this is his job as a beat reporter to get quotes and to try to get some more information. And then Jamie Vargas, the pitcher, one of the pitchers to the Mets, then threatened violence on this reporter, Tim Healy, and, continues to escalate the situation. So, and then what would happen yesterday is the GM, of course, laid down the fines, as you mentioned, Mike. The manager, Mickey Callaway, comes out for the first time for a pregame press conference, doesn't apologize, comes out a second time, delivers an insincere apology. Vargas doesn't even apologize. He just kind of brushes it off, as an unfortunate distraction. We then learn reports that the GM called in yesterday's game into Mickey Callaway and told him to remove Jake DeGrom from the game from his own house. So, if it sounds like a roller coaster, that's because it is one. Well, and I think that, let me finish, and I'll let you talk. It's a roller coaster here that, unfortunately, that the Mets have developed this reputation of letting these PR nightmares not just become fires, but become inferno, because of their inability to control the situation and to hold the appropriate people accountable. And I think that, and we'll continue this discussion and allow it to evolve, but it just looks poorly on the Mets, and it's a result of years and years of a cultural cancer that has grown in this organization as a result of the Will Pond ownership.
Well, I would say this. My question is, how did Tim Healy say, "See you tomorrow"? Because I don't see a video that shows me that. And I know the manager took it as Healy being a smartass. So if he was being a smartass, does that change anything here? Because right now the problem is the narrative is controlled by the press. I mean, everybody you see that writes this from Healy's angle, and they're just taking what Healy says on face value. And I wouldn't take what either one of them say on face value.
Well, there is no video as of right now. So you only got to, use the words. And if I'm a reporter, and we're going to get into this right now because, again, it then goes to the whole discussion of what is the appropriate relationship between a beat reporter and a manager and a player. And I read somewhere yesterday in The Athletic, Mark Carrick, who is a New York Mets beat reporter, national baseball writer for The Athletic, wrote an article about how, the beat reporter-coach relationship is analogous to like a beggar on the street, where someone, may, walk by the street person, they may sneer at them, they may ignore them, but then over time you may give some, bits of information. And I think here, this is just a case where a manager who knows he's a public figure, he knows if he does anything stupid, this is going to be a blow up on social media. It's going to be a PR nightmare. Grossly overreacted to a little comment by a reporter. And my question back to you, Mike, is if Mickey Callaway acts like this towards a reporter, how can he have any credibility to manage a baseball team that's struggling right now?
Well, how does Bill Belichick?
Credibility?
How did Bobby Knight? How did Earl Weaver, Tommy Lasorda, who all did much worse than this?
Bill Belichick. Okay, let's be clear about something here. Let's be clear about something. Bill Belichick has, from my account, never used profanity towards a reporter.
You got to be kidding me. This is a grown man and another grown man, and somebody told him to fuck off. Big deal. I mean, have some damn balls. Nobody has any backbone anymore, Lukas. All I know is this. I've been on both sides of this. I've been more on the side of the coach who's lost a tough game. He answered questions in the press conference. If you then go try to ask him something after that press conference, you don't have a right to do that because you should have enough common sense to leave a man that is being destroyed by his own front office alone. I mean, to me, I think this is Tim Healy going out of his way to try to get him to it. You can completely disagree, Lukas, but you've never been in that.
Well, I have.
You haven't.
I am right now.
You have never been in it. You haven't.
Well, I have.
No, you haven't. You've been the guy that's asking the questions. You've never been the guy being questioned. And you've never been the guy being questioned when this guy's entire livelihood depends on this job. He answered the question.
And you don't think the beat reporter is, Mike? Come on,
no,
Mike.
Because you know what? I don't think this. The beat reporter asked the question.
You're out in left field.
I don't think that the beat reporter should be walking up and saying anything to him after that.
Well,
they got to ask the question.
It's not in their media credential contract.
Wait a second, though. Nobody at the New York Post or wherever he works from is going to fire him because he didn't say "see you later" to Mickey Callaway. All the questions were asked. Everybody in that room knows. If you know it, and I know it, and Bobby knows it, Steve knows it, everybody knows what this man is going through. Leave him alone. Let him die his slow and painful death, and just leave it alone. I, for one, believe this. I believe Tim Healy, from the line of questionings, was probably a smartass when he was leaving. And if he was, I don't have a problem with Mickey Callaway basically telling him to go F himself. I've seen every coach known to man do this at some point or another. The thing is this. I think Vargas, the player, going after him is completely uncalled for. I think he should have been fined more than $10,000. But other than that, these are two grown men, and one of them told the other one to F off. Who cares? I really don't care. This is not a big deal.
Mike, let's look at the facts here. He then did that and then forced his PR staff to remove him from there.
Yeah, so would I. If I think the guy's being a smartass, I'm going to remove him.
It's not like the reporter is causing a threat to Mickey Callaway's safety. He's not. He just said, "See you tomorrow," off the cuff.
You don't know how he said it.
You don't know how he said it. Mickey Callaway blows up like this is some crazy thing. So I don't, profanity all you want. Mickey Callaway needs to know his position in the public sphere here. Bite his tongue. Go back and leave the stadium instead of causing this ruckus in the first place. It all started. If Mickey Callaway doesn't say anything, this is no issue here. This is no issue.
Well, if that guy just does his job and goes home or stays in the locker room and asks other people questions, there's no issue.
But his job is to get to hold
his job is not to say, see you tomorrow. And I think he was being a smart ass when he said it.
Well, no way.
Oh, there's no way. So there's no way a reporter could do anything wrong, even though reporters are usually guys that know absolutely nothing about sports. That's 80% of reporters. They just don't. Most of them have never played the game. Most of them have never done anything except write about it. And as Bobby Knight once so eloquently said, writers learn how to write, What was it, Steve? And
no, the story was most
you know
people
where
learn
I'm
to read
going
and
with
write
this.
in the second grade and move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah. So I mean, come on.
That
Who
was
cares?
a quote. Yeah.
He got called a name.
Yeah.
Big deal. Bobby?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is I get pissed off when reporters, they act like they've got all the answers. And they think they act, they ask questions that are in nature second guessing. And now that with the social media on Twitter, they come out, the game's not even over yet. And they're tweeting about, well, why did he go to that pitcher when he could have gone to this guy? And now he's burned 2 players, but he could have made that move. And why isn't Edwin Diaz in the game? He's only thrown 12 pitches in 6 days. Why can't he get 5 outs here? This is, da-da-da-da-da. It's all this second guessing. They think they got it all, the answers, because they all try to act like they're smarter than everybody else. And then the manager is the only one in the organization who is making the decision that matters. They're there in the arena making the decision, and some of them blow up. And then afterwards want to sit there and ask about it. And you know what? If you want to be respected in that locker room with the manager and the player, there's a way you can ask the question and do your job and do it in a way that's respected by both parties. Diaz was left on the sideline there. He's their big money pickup. They expected Lugo to get that out so that Diaz didn't have to go 5 outs, 6 outs. I mean, we're not even at the All-Star break. Look, can Diaz just go 9? Let's just go 9 outs. I mean, every game, and we're not at the All-Star break yet, and we're panicking about winning every single game. Lugo's got to do his job. So it doesn't work out. They already made a decision. He's only going to be 4 outs is the maximum we're going to ask out of Diaz. That the 5th out needed to be gotten, and it wasn't gotten, period. So that's it. We already made the decision to harp and second guess. And then he had enough, and so then he stopped answering questions. And the guy kept asking questions. He just ignored them. So the guy said, see you tomorrow.
Well, how about this, Lucas?
Fuck you. Get out of here. I'll get this guy out of here, right? I mean,
the way I take this is this, Bobby. I think Lucas hit on it when he talked about the disorganization with the Mets. So I think what you have here, Lucas, is Mickey Callaway blew up because he probably agreed with what he was asked, but he was not allowed to do it. And the thing that sticks out to me is the Mets GM. He was asked like 2 days ago if Mickey Callaway, or if anybody ever interfered with Mickey Callaway in anything that he did during games. And Van Wagenen answered, this organization is about teamwork and collaboration. He never said no. And I think the issue here, and the reason I don't hold Mickey Callaway accountable, is because I think Mickey Callaway sees the same thing the reporters do, and he's being thrown under the bus here. And I think the best thing Mickey Callaway could do would be to tell the Mets GM and the Mets owner to stick the job up their asses before he gets so deep that he can't get a job somewhere else.
Mike, that could be a good take, Mike.
I agree. Because you could write a book of the amount of times where the Wilpons, the owners, the GMs at the Mets, including Van Wagenen, have interfered with the day-to-day operations of this baseball club and have steered it in the wrong direction. And let's remember here, just 4 years ago, the Mets were in the World Series. This is one of the, should be an exciting franchise in professional baseball. And unfortunately with, it all starts at the top and it just reverberates down to the bottom. And to me, the handling of this just speaks to that even more.
Yeah, to me, this whole thing is caused by the Mets front office.
Yeah.
It could be, but the reporter then staring down Vargas. Vargas was pissed off. Wrigley Field clubhouse is very small. That area, everybody can hear what everybody's saying. So, these players heard what was going on, jumped out to kind of see, okay, what's happening? Why is our manager getting pissed off? He shouldn't be having to get pissed off at doing his job, which is answering these questions. So Vargas comes out and pokes his head out and sees this reporter being told to, escort it out of here. So he looks there with the reporter. The reporter stares at him. The reporter stares him down, and that's what pissed Vargas off. Like, who are you looking at me not backing off? Just get your ass out of here. That's all you got to do.
Well,
and he wants to stare down the player.
I thought there was video of everything that went on in the world anymore. I would like to see the video because I'm not going to make a judgment because I don't trust either side without seeing it. So I'm just kind of going to go off of what we know happened. And this, when you read into this and the way Van Wagenen has run this team, I mean, he seemingly, Callaway was vilified. What was that, a few weeks ago when he took Jacob deGrom out against his wishes? And comes to find out, the genesis for removing him was a text from Van Wagenen during the game telling Mickey Callaway to get him out of there. This is the thing. I think Mickey Callaway is insane for even managing this team right now.
No, for sure.
And they just removed two of his coaches.
Yeah, so he has no say on anything that goes. They sit him up there like a piñata and let everybody beat the hell out of him while they're the ones actually pulling the strings.
Right.
So.
And a guy I talked to, I think this is important to say, a guy that when I say talk, Twitter back and forth, yesterday, he told me that this is the guy that works, he's in that room, Lukas. He's one of the guys in that room.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, you know what? There are certainly some in this room that are trying to poke at him. And
without a doubt.
The press. There's without a doubt. Yeah, but what he said was, I wouldn't think it was that guy, meaning Healy or whatever his name was, that he was actually, he thought, one of the better guys. So he was surprised by who it was, not that it maybe happened. And I just think that's unfortunate when the press is out to get a guy. I think that's unfortunate. Don't you, Lukas? I don't see you, Lukas. I know you. Not personally meeting you, but I know you a relationship now over the air for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you would be one of those reporters. I really don't.
No, I mean, look, I think that for sure, and I have been, I was in the press conference at the, AFC Championship game for the Chiefs when the Rams lost the Super Bowl. A tough, quiet environment. And, I think there is a point, to your point, Mike, about, giving them space, but you still need to ask the question. And those players and coaches, they just need to and again, I've never been a coach, never been a player in that situation, so I can't comment on that. But especially now in social media in 2019, just try to avoid any controversy.
I know. So don't say goodbye to him.
Well,
none of this happens if he doesn't. And I still believe.
How would Tim Healy predict that type of reaction?
Well, if Tim Healy said it like a smartass, it's pretty easy to predict because he was trying to get that reaction.
That's how it was received by the manager.
We don't know, Lucas. I'm not saying that he did. I'm just saying to think that there's no way that he could have possibly did that like a smart ass. Because let's face it, Tim Healy is now known by everybody.
Well, he was known before. He's now known now.
No, he wasn't.
He was known
I didn't know who to have. No, this is the thing. Tim Healy now.
He was.
Had you ever heard of Tim Healy, Steve?
Of course yes. Because I follow baseball.
Did we lose Steve?
No, I'm here. I'm just listening.
Have you ever heard of Tim Healy before this?
No, but I don't follow baseball that
Bobby?
closely, so no, I have not.
No, I had not, Mike. I didn't have him as one of my Twitter guys or anybody that I follow. I
don't follow him anywhere.
So I think what you got here is he may have been known in baseball circles by a fair amount of people, but I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan. I don't know who the hell the writer for the New York Mets is. He's a
reporter. Come on.
Yeah, he's a reporter. He doesn't really mean a whole lot. There's not too many reporters that go to in a Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, and I don't think Tim Healy's going to be one of them. But maybe they'll have to now, the way society is. They may put him in just so he doesn't
but let's just remember though how tough it is for those to get those credentials in the first place. It's difficult. It's not like there's thousands and thousands. There's few people control that, and I just think again, I just go back to Myberg, and we can agree to disagree. I'm offering the percent because I'm in this environment right now, so I have a different perspective. It's the front office here that needs to be criticized, to be microscoped, which it has been for quite some time. And we can go back and look at various examples. I mean, Jonas Cespedes was forced by management to play even though he had a bum ankle. I mean, the list goes on. And I just think those are the people that I think have created these constant PR nightmares that need to be held accountable. And I don't know. I just think probably the sacrificial lamb here is going to be Mickey Callaway because, I mean, the manager's
hired
always
to be fired.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Which would happen a lot of managers.
And I still think in the end, unless there's video footage of actually what happened, we're just taking hearsay evidence from both sides anyways. That's why, to me, this is a non-issue. I think the bigger issue is the way the Mets are being run.
Yeah, I agree with that, Mike.
For sure.
And I do want to point out that Tim Healy, yes, to get those credentials, he's had to prove himself and be, very excellent in his field. But his field is to cover the game, report, and write back for the people to read about and ask the questions, not to be the guy actually smart.
Very true.
In that sport.
Don't be
and
the
these
story.
Guys, after a while, they all start thinking they know as much as the manager. They know as much as anybody else. And I'll give you an example. Okay, there's a guy that covers for the Angels. Name is Jeff Fletcher. Okay, he covers for the Orange County News Group. And I got upset at the way he was twittering about Brad Osmus's usage in the bullpen and what time he got somebody up and when he brought somebody in because of this and because of that. And my Twitter thing with him was, look, it's not your job to second guess why he's got a guy up in the seventh inning or who he goes. You don't know the mindset and you don't know what's going on in his mind and why he does something. It's your job maybe to ask about it. What was your thought process there? The fans would like to know, whatever. Not to point out while it's happening on Twitter, why has he got this guy up? That's adversarial. That's second guessing. That's creating a bad vibe, I believe. And that manager, and I told him this, that manager and those players aren't going to respect you if that's all you're doing. That's even if they read your crap. You're not going to be respected being a guy that's second guessing. That's my point. You report the game. Report what's going on. Don't act like you're the manager or act like you know what you're doing with baseball because you ain't never done nothing in baseball, Tim Healy.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and, Steve, what's your opinion? I almost forgot to.
I come from totally as a player.
I just want to see the film. I want to know what happened.
Yeah. I'd like to see the film. Yeah, I was trying to find the film. There's no film anywhere of it anywhere. So I've been on Instagram, I can't find it. If I can find it, let me know where I can.
Trust me, if somebody finds it, you'll know immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a two-way street. I understand the job of the reporters to come out and reporters and what's printed and what's put on television is important because it sells the product of the team. So you need to have that relationship there. But we used to have every day. We had an entire media day at IU where we just went to practice. We sat at night, told us how to handle the media, how to answer questions, how to handle things, and how to do things as a player. And Bobby, I'm sure you went through this too. And Mike, I'm sure you did as a coach. And Lukas, you're on the other end of it. So it's a dialogue there that goes, there's got to be a relationship there. But sometimes the struggle is the adrenaline that flows after playing a game and you're just hot and bothered. You're pissed off about losing. you're pissed off about making bad decisions or things didn't go your way, and you just get this question that's like, okay, that just put me over the top. And then you blow up for a second, and then you regret it. Or you just wish you hadn't said that. And Knight worked hard to coach us on that.
Yep.
You know, he did very hard to do that. Say, hey, just you know, and I always thought, I hated the fact that when I got in the locker room, we got yelled at by Knight, and then, you know, we were trying to get in the shower, and then 5 minutes later, the locker room's full of press people. And it's like, I really don't want to talk to anybody right now. I don't want to talk to anybody right now. Just please give me some time to cool down. Let me go talk to my girlfriend. Period. Let me go talk to my parents. Let me get out of here, and let me just get my thoughts back in order. So I you know, when you do that kind of stuff, you make a comment, whether it was derogatory or not. And like Mike says, I'd like to see the video of how the line was delivered. But it's going to be, gosh, you need some time just to decompress.
Well, how about this?
After you play
I think as a college athlete, Steve, I don't think they should be allowed to be questioned after a game because they're supposed to be amateurs. They're not getting paid. Shouldn't they be home studying?
Yeah, we were trying to get the hell out of there. And then, like I said, we were just trying to get the hell out of the locker room. We just wanted to see our girlfriends. You know, we had parents at the games, and we just wanted to get the hell out of there. We didn't want to talk to anybody.
I forgot, though, because there's, like, media contracts that pay the schools millions of dollars every year. And
yeah, we're going to talk about that on another show this week. Yeah, that's another show this week.
That's the segue for me to explain tomorrow. We'll talk about that in the NCAA.
Yeah, exactly. But so I think Lucas, the thing is that I see both sides because I came into this thinking, Lucas, I'm going to grill your ass on this. Then I started listening to you, and I get where the reporters come from, and the thing that Knight always told us, and you know, and Knight probably is the most vilified person of all on YouTube of bad press conferences.
Oh, Mike Ditka's up there
one
too.
of the few. Ditka, Lasorda,
Bill Belichick.
Earl Weaver was.
Belichick's done
Earl
a few.
Weaver's the first one that came to my mind. Earl Weaver.
Oh yeah, Earl Weaver, Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah, Tommy Lasorda, Tommy LaRussa. I didn't realize who was a great friend of Bob Knight's. Yeah, so I'm just saying there just needs to be some decompression time to let everybody just calm down a little bit because the adrenaline is flowing. And Bobby, am I right here or wrong here? Because you're a professional baseball player.
You're right. No, Steve, you're very right, but that's just on one end of it. A guy like Bobby Knight, even after a great win, he's coaching still in the media. He doesn't want his star freshman, Alan Henderson, to be glorified about what a great game he played. He doesn't want him to be reading about all that. So don't talk about that. So Bobby Knight was great, as are all the great ones, about controlling the hype, controlling what's being said, and keeping it to a point where he knows it's got to be. And
the thing is this, Bobby,
after a win.
with Mickey Callaway, either way, he was out of control of his emotions. When you see a guy like Bob Knight or Belichick, there is a message being sent to their players
a message to the madness
when they do something like that. Now, that's why I still think there's a decent shot that maybe that reporter wasn't just saying, see you tomorrow. I think there's a decent shot that maybe he's being a dick. But Mickey Callaway we can't put in. I mean, because if Bill Belichick did this, everybody'd be, upset about it. But it wouldn't be as bad because we all know that Bill Belichick's not going to be fired for blowing up at a reporter. Maybe if he feels one up, but not blowing up at him.
So can I ask a question? Is the bigger problem here that owners have gotten too involved in the day-to-day operations of what they pay people to do?
Well, yeah, that's always been the problem.
Jerry Jones is the epitome of all of that.
Jerry Jones destroyed.
They just got too involved.
An unbelievable. Imagine if Jerry Jones doesn't meddle.
Yeah, Steinbrenner's the most famous. Exactly.
Yeah, but Jerry Jones, I think, the dude won 2 Super Bowls with Jimmy Johnson. He gets rid of him. He wins another one because they had so much talent. But if he'd have just kept Jimmy Johnson along and he'd have not interfered, that team might be worth $10 billion right now.
I just don't. I just say this as a player, and I think Bobby can attest. And Mike, you as a coach, because you've been in locker rooms, Bobby. I know you have, and Lukas. He's
Canadian, Steve. Go ahead.
It's a hostile environment. When you, after a game, whether you win or lose, you're jacked up. You're either jacked up happy or you're jacked up pissed off. You're one way or the other, and it's like your emotions are just, your adrenaline is flowing.
And if I can just interject.
Go ahead.
Just quickly here, and let's be clear about baseball, too. Baseball is a long season, 162 games, where the press and the players and coach and manager, they interact so often. Like, it's a lot more often than in other sports where, you just
Great
out,
point. Great point.
once a week, baseball, and especially in that, dead of summer where, your team is struggling, and these, bad losses continuing to mount up. It is more frustrating because it's just, you can't break out of the slump and your team is underachieving and, you're getting scrutinized here, there, and New York. Let's talk about New York here. This is the media hotspot of the world where everything is just scrutinized. Yeah. So, for me, I just provide the perspective where, you got to let them you got to give them their space, but they also have a job to do to hold these people to accountable. And for me, you can't treat them like they're God or something. They're just people who are athletes. They're celebrities. And, you can't do something to revoke your credential, so it's a very interesting discussion as to, the role of the journalist, because obviously they have a contract. But are those lines being blurred?
Okay, can I interject real quick back?
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
I
interject. You said that you think it's the media's response. First off, you say baseball has 162 games or whatever it is, how many games they play. If they're together that much, they should be a little bit better friends than, say, me playing 35 games at IU.
Yeah, but
right?
you could
they
be
should
friends
be
with
friends.
them, but if you see them that much, you kind of wear each other out sometimes.
Yeah, but where is it written that it's the reporter's responsibility to hold managers, players, coaches accountable?
It's journalism.
I mean, ask questions, and take their answers.
But how about this? Are you being a reporter or are you being a journalist?
Yeah,
well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're reporting on the game, aren't you supposed to report the game? Now, if you're a journalist, to me, that is more of a columnist, and then you tear apart what you see.
Mm-hmm. Well, those lines have blurred. Those lines have significantly blurred.
Yeah, because everybody second guesses.
They're
everything.
interchangeable.
Yeah. But all right, let's transition real quick. Still baseball. And we are going to discuss analytics of whether it's ruining baseball or not. Bobby, I'll give you the first shot on this one.
I appreciate that, Mike. And, look, I'm not a guy that is opposed to all these new stats that are out there, and I pulled them up. I just pulled them up last night, and, I refuse to learn what all these are just because I'm not going to do it. But, I'll read down a few. BQR-S, IR-A percentage, LD percentage, a P-GS, which that's pretty, I can understand that one. SIERA, your FIP. I mean, look, offense, OPS plus, OPS, your ISO, your WRC plus, or just your RC plus. Look, if fantasy people all want to predict, and we want to take these stats and make new ones, and everyone wants to have fun on the outside, the stat people, that's fine, okay? I don't care. I don't have to follow it or know what it even means. But the bottom line is, when the analytics have reached a point to where it's changing the game, this is where I have a problem, okay? And here's what it is for football. Mike, and I just thought of this. Remember last year when you just started really seeing all these teams start to go for two? I mean, it's 6-0 and they're going for two. And we're like, us people have been watching this game for 50 years or 30 years or whatever. We're going, well, it's only 6-0. Why are you going for 2? I was taught that you don't even look at the chart until the fourth quarter, right? And I'm, Mike, you coach and all this. Why are we going? Well, because the analytics say that there's a 53.2% chance that if you just go for 2 each time, you'll wind up making it twice.
Yeah, but ask Pittsburgh Steelers fans, because Mike Tomlin's been doing that for years and costing them games.
Yeah, and it's so stupid. Well, the analytics in baseball has hit, and it's to a point where, okay, we know where every one of these ground balls is going to go off of a right-handed pitcher that's a slider predominant. But if it's a 1-2 count, we got to move the shortstop 7 more feet that way. I mean, it's all a joke. And so what's happened is that they load the right side up on these left-handed hitters, mainly. They do it for the right-handed hitters a little bit, but more for the left-handed hitters. They stick 3-4 guys over there. It looks like a softball game. So aesthetically, I hate it. All right. Number 2, baseball, being in position, proper position to take a throw or make a play, relies on you playing in a certain position to start with. When you mess all that up, you have ridiculous plays where there's nobody covering the bag at third because they can't, because you can't possibly get there. And so that play broke down, and then that play broke down, and they can't do a regular bunt coverage, Bill, because why? Because we have 9 guys on the right side, whatever. So now the way it's playing into the game is that, well, look, every reliever that comes in from the 5th inning on is a 99-plus guy. He's average pitcher, but he's power arm. This is how we've learned, that this is how we're going to get to our closer. We're going to use 4 or 5 pitches from the 5th inning on. They're all going to throw 99, high fastballs. And if you make the hitters are now saying, the analytics are saying, well, you know what? We can't hit the ball through the shift. So now we're just going to try to hit the ball at the ballpark. We're not going to bunt. We're not going to hit and run. We're not going to hit behind the runner, because all that in the end, the percentages say hit the most home runs, win the game. So analytics has helped bring us to a point that the game is terrible. It's broken. It's walks, strikeouts, home runs. That's it.
All right.
5-hour ball games, because 5th inning on, we've got 9 pitchers that are coming in for 2 outs each.
All right. So, Lucas, do you agree or disagree?
I agree in part. I think you need to have balance. I think it's impossible, given how far analytics have gone, the explosion, if you will, like Bobby has talked about, to just rein it back in. But I like to see the old school fundamentals. And let's just go back to that 4 years ago, Kansas City Royals, Toronto Blue Jays, ALCS. The Blue Jays had the analytics strategy with Bautista, Encarnacion, Donaldson, trying to hit for the fences. The Kansas City Royals, they did small ball. They hit the other way. They bunted. They moved the runner. And the Royals ended up winning that series in 6. And then when it ended up winning the World Series on small ball, not going, because what happened with the Blue Jays was they started hitting for the fences and they went into a hitting slump. They went like 3 for 24 and runners in scoring position, like some horrible stat line for that ALCS. And, name me a team that has won the World Series strictly driven by analytics. I mean, the Oakland Athletics with Billy Beane back in 2002, the whole Moneyball story, they fell up short. There are elements.
The Boston Red Sox have.
Fully driven by analytics.
They signed Bill James on 2003 or 4, won 3 or 4 World Series. The problem with the Moneyball thing is now you've got the Dodgers are doing it. I mean, they're using all these stats to sign the players they get, and the problem is they've got the money to do it, and then you've got teams that are basically tanking, trying to figure out a way to do their Moneyball, and I think that the problem I see with baseball is this. Baseball and boxing are the 2 sports where I think boxers from the 70s and 80s and baseball teams from the 70s and 80s would have beat the hell out of what we see today. Because when you looked, I looked for the hell of it, and I looked at 1976 just as a base year. Right now, this year, there are 23 guys in all of Major League Baseball that are batting 300 or better. 23 at the halfway point of the season almost. Hell, the 1976 Reds had 3 guys batting over 320. Team ERA last year was 4.56. Team ERA in 1976 was 3.5. The other numbers, though, because when you bring that up, people are going to say, well, you've got the DH now. You didn't have it, well, you had it in 76, but the DH thing.
You got steroids now, Mike.
Yeah, you got steroids, but the DH thing, you can't go by that because in the National League still, where pitchers are still hitting, the team ERA last year was 4.4. So it didn't really drop. It was 4.56 or something in the American League. And there are only 2 teams that have an overall last year ERA below 4.5. The average team ERA in 1976 was 3.5. Hell, if you're 3.5 right now as a starting pitcher, you're a billionaire. And the overall team ERA last year was like over 4.5. So when you look at this, stolen bases, everybody always talks about what's the most unbreakable record in sports. Now it has to be Ricky Henderson's 120 stolen bases. You got a better chance because analytics has told people that it's not safe to steal. Now, this is my problem. All right, I coached baseball. I coached when my son was 9 through 16 years old. And the one thing I learned was I won a lot more if I force the other team to do something to get me out. And it seems like now when we watch baseball, we're not forcing anything. It's basically you got the launch angle and all that crap. The pitcher's going to throw 100. You're going to swing with your launch angle as hard as you can. And it's either a home run or it's not. And people can say, well, it makes the game more exciting, but it makes it less exciting because less happens because the overall average runs scored per game are no higher than what they were 30 years ago. It's just instead of getting 2 hits, a bunt, a sacrifice, and a base hit to get 2 runs, we're getting 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, and maybe a home run to get you 3 runs. That's boring because what this game has turned into is an outcome of 3 things. You have a strikeout, you have a walk, or you have a home run. In 1976, there was 20 different things that could happen. And analytics were used back then. I mean, back then they would switch to left-handed pitcher going against whatever. I mean, but the thing is, this has become so stupid. And the real problem is, with the Oakland A's and the Moneyball, that helped them be competitive. But the problem is, that was 15 years ago. And what has happened in the meantime is the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox. Hell, the Red Sox got Bill James.
Rules.
Yeah, they have all went and played by the same rules that the poor teams can play by now. So the poor teams don't have an advantage anymore. So I think what needs to be done with the tanking and everything to fix baseball is there has to be a much higher minimum payroll for your baseball team. Or you got to drop down the highest end. They've got to do something about this because right now, 10 years ago, you get teams like the A's that'll pop up every once in a while. You have that less and less now because now all the rich teams are hiring even better sabermatic guys or whatever you want to call it to bring them in for the analytics to make their baseball team even better. So this skews everything because if you look at it, the LA Dodgers have been good for how long? And they keep getting better, and they're getting better with not necessarily a great baseball team, but they got a bunch of guys that can hit the ball really far, and they got a bunch of guys that throw really hard. I still make this case. If you brought the 1982 St. Louis Cardinals into Major League Baseball today, they'd win 140 games because nobody'd know how to deal with it. Because, and I blame this because I thought about this the other day when Bobby tweeted out about having 2 infielders on each side of second base. I don't agree with that, Bobby, because you ought to be able to put your guys wherever you want. The problem comes with not being able to bunt a guy over, not being able to take one for the team and bunt it down the third base line when there's no third baseman, because I hate to tell you this.
Well, Mike,
that's a base hit.
Okay, but you can't. That would be great. That would be great to bring the Cardinals in right now and play against these steroid teams and how they would win 140 games. But guess what? those players don't even exist anymore. There's very few of the Willie McGee's and Vince Coleman's and those kind of guys because everybody's a linebacker in the MLB now.
Yeah,
everybody's
but that's why they would win.
Trying to hit the ball out of the park.
Now, I meant actually bring the 1982 Cardinals with Keith Hernandez at 60. I think Keith Hernandez would bunt the ball down the third baseline or first baseline and get on base.
Yeah, but these guys, they don't even know how to bunt.
No, because these guys don't want to win.
They don't even know how.
Max Scherzer broke his nose because he was screwing around bunting.
Yeah.
Simply, that's it. They screw around. And Steve, I know you're one that used to like to watch baseball. And I know you don't watch it much anymore. I don't watch it nearly as much as I used to. And this is why. The game's just not as exciting.
I agree. Yeah, I don't even really have a comment to add to it. Yeah. I mean, to me, the Big Red Machine is the best baseball team I've ever seen in my life. That followed by the Yankees, and then the '74 Oakland A's, and then it just kind of all went. But you guys are in a different league than I am on this conversation, so take after it.
Well, I do want to bring this comment out. I mentioned this to Mike yesterday off the air, but Chris Iannetta, the catcher for the Rockies, one of the catchers, he's more of their backup now, but he said the game has gotten down to the pitching and catching part of it, the battery, is can we strike them out 3 times before we walk them 4 times? It's strikeouts and walks and home runs. That's it. Can we strike them out 3 times before we walk? So what happens to the defense, Mike? They're standing around. Nothing's going on for 14 minutes.
Yeah. And what's happening in the stands with the man who brought his 9-year-old son to see his first baseball game?
Yeah. And how about the guy at home when it's now 10:30 on the West Coast, and we're in the 8th or 7th inning. It's 1:30 in the morning,
especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't like it. I did want to bring that comment up, and then as far as the steroid baseball, I do want to bring this up before we stop the conversation. I tweeted out about 3 weeks ago about the epic. This was epic, Lukas, when Bonds 2004 faced Gagne.
Yeah.
We knew steroids were in the game. We already knew that from '98.
Yep.
McGuire and Sosa, so we knew it was there. It was there before,
of course,
in the '90s, right? It was already there, but we still knew. But it wasn't as widespread, as rampant. So you get Barry Bonds, who's one of the greatest players of all time. You put him on steroids, he's a legend. He's one of the top 5 of all time. Right? So he's too good. He broke the records by too much. He turned on a 101-mile-per-hour fastball and hit it in the ocean. Foul. The next pitch, he hit it out to center. We had never – this was unbelievable. Epic. Listen to the announcers, Mike Krukow and his partner. They're loving
Dwayne
it.
Kuiper?
Well, we have that on every field now. Every night, every diamond has 6 or 8 of those epic. The guy's throwing 100.
Yeah, but how about
this? Left-handed batter.
This is what.
Come on, man.
This is what to me is really sad. The Cincinnati Reds are right around 500 right now. These are the batting averages. They're starting 8 players. They're regular 8 players. 246, 240, 260, 294, 252, 223, 271, 229. And that last one is Derek Dietrich, who has 18 home runs and 40 RBIs. Everybody has turned into Dave Kingman.
Yeah,
and they're not hitting strikeout or home run or strikeout.
Yeah. Christian Yelich, the MVP, they said he's swinging and missing more than he ever has this year. But when he puts the ball in play, it's great. It's a home run his OPS is out of control, and he's swinging and missing more than ever. And he's supposedly the best player in the league. Come on, man.
Mike,
I want a better game.
Mike, can I ask a question?
Back.
Sure.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How much does heart and courage play into baseball anymore?
I still think it's
This is the thing.
Big.
I don't think it does much
or anybody
anymore in most sports we
Mike,
see.
Anybody, yeah.
I mean, because now everything is just about individualism. I mean, it's just, It's all me. Because if it wasn't,
yeah,
you would see guys bunt down the third baseline. I mean, I'm a Reds fan.
Right.
Joey Votto makes me sick. They do this big shift on him. He never just lays the ball down. And what he doesn't realize, what none of these guys freaking realize is with the analytics, if you came up 3 straight times and bunted a ball down the third baseline and got on base every time, they'd stop shifting probably.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And if they don't, you're going to bat 1,000 for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you change the analytics immediately. Yeah, you change it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's basically, it's selfishness. And I think we see this in most sports.
Oh, for sure. Players pumping their stats up. Look at basketball, Mike.
Yeah.
It's this is what players do. They're not thinking about the team concept. I mean, maybe if you get to the end, maybe. But
you know what, Lucas?
Season,
it's a lot harder to think about the team concept when guys are making $50 million a year.
Of course, the money thing is a huge factor.
They're all catching their checks.
Yeah,
for sure.
And they're not caring.
Here's an interesting question, if I could ask. Just all three of you, what is your greatest baseball moment? You guys are all baseball people. I'm not really a baseball person. What's your greatest baseball?
You mean in person, or do you mean?
No, just when you think about baseball, and I'll go first. It's Kirk Gibson, jacking the home runs.
Not for me, because I hate the Dodgers. Lucas?
Okay, that's fine, but that to me is my greatest baseball moment. And so does anybody else have a great baseball moment?
Yeah. I got a bunch of them, but
Bobby, I have.
Lucas, go ahead.
You can have one. You can have one.
Oh,
I can have however many I want. It's my show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
it's our show, Mike.
No, it's mine because I can
mute you. At least for today, it's our show. You may fire me tonight, but
I'm just going to use my team, the Blue Jays, and 2 moments that come up to me are Joe Carter, 93, walk off to win the World Series.
There you go.
And
Lucas?
I think we lost him.
We lost Lucas.
I can get him
Bobby,
back, though.
You're the
worry.
baseball guy. We'll get Lucas back on. Bobby, what is your? I mean, to me, it's Kirk Gibson jacking the home run for the Dodgers to win.
I'm like Mike. There's been so many. But I'll tell you, as a kid, I loved Rod Carew. And I was there live to see him get his 3,000th hit, line drive to left.
There you go.
Frank Viola. 1986, I believe. Could have been 85. That's one of them. I was there live to see Jack Clark hit his home run and beat the Dodgers in the 9th inning off Tom Niedenfuer. That's a famous moment. Those are things that I personally saw. I was there and watched, as a high school kid, But, I wanted to ask.
Hold on, we got Lucas
Mike's
back.
got to give his.
Let's let Lucas finish his thought real quick. I know we
Mike,
got
your best
Joe
moment.
Carter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so Joe Carter for me, 93 walk-off World Series. And then I was there for this 2015 ALDS Jose Bautista's bat flip. And, of course, that inning was just crazy, and the crowd was upset with what happened in the top half. And, I mean, as a Toronto sports fan, not much, we haven't seen a lot of success, certainly in my lifetime, for the Blue Jays. So that was it was epic. I mean, and seeing him just flip the bat with a 3-run homer, that's just, emotion at its finest right there. All
right. Bobby, were you done with yours? Or?
I was done, but, Mike, I wanted to ask a question. Steve kind of went off and asked his question, but I want to get this in, and if you can answer it, it is this. Albert Pujols went back to St. Louis, and his first at-bat had the huge standing ovation. They have a 3-game series. He played in all 3 games. First at-bat, huge standing ovation, went on forever, which is great. He deserves it. Yadier Molina went out in front of the plate, stood in the grass, so that moment would be as long and as great as it could be. And then the second at-bat, we did it again. The third at-bat, we did it again, and we did it all weekend. Okay, I love Albert Pujols, but over the top. I mean, come on, am I wrong here? Was that
no,
just
you're not
over
wrong.
the top
He's the enemy
adulation?
Now. He's the enemy now. They were just kissing his ass trying to get him back.
But I mean, over the top. Come on, Lukas. Am I wrong?
Well, how about this, Bobby? We never used to see players before games back in the 70s and 80s joking around with each other.
That's another one.
That's a whole other debate, and that's in basketball too, Mike.
It's in everything now.
So, I mean, come on, though. I don't think
football.
Social media is ruining a lot of things in sports too. That's another topic another show we can have. Social media is ruining sports. Probably life things too. These kids going to school and having to deal with this social media stuff. And I just thought that moment there all weekend, it just never ended. And the whole Molina Pujols love affair at home plate 19 times we had to see. Can't there be a poignant moment anymore? It's just so everybody's got to just outdo each other with who had the best ovations for their star or what. It's all just sickening. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Bobby. One better than that. So I was at the series when Vlad Guerrero Jr. debuted with the Blue Jays. This is someone who's top prospect, but hasn't done anything yet in MLB. And every time he went up to bat, they got a standing ovation. I mean,
unbelievable. I didn't know that.
I mean,
oh, wow.
Like, and that to me is, I think, even worse. And, at least Pujols has done something. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is, this is just a kid who, you never know. He could be a bust. Who knows, right? I mean, I'm not wishing that on Vlad Guerrero Jr., but you just don't know, right? So,
right.
One ovation, the whole concept of a singular ovation is special because it's so few. Just one special ovation. You don't need to do it, 12 times. If he gets up to bat 4 times in a game, I completely am on board with you there. I'm on board with you.
I appreciate that, Lukas, and I'm glad to know that I'm not just being old, crotchety.
No.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah, I think that'll throw shit at people. All right. I'm going to answer Steve's question because Steve's going to get on me if I don't. Actually, I grew up as a Reds fan in the 70s, went to a ton of games through the 90s, so I got like 30 different ones, Steve. Number one to me would probably be Johnny Bench night, September 17th, 1983, when Bench comes up, I think in the 4th or 5th inning, hits a home run down the left field line.
Right.
And me and my dad were sitting up in the bleachers, left-hand side, up in the red seats. He hits the ball down there. The other thing I remember is the first Reds game I ever went to was 1976, the Reds versus the Cubs. With my mom, my dad, and my sister. We sit up in right field, and I think I've told this story before, at least to Bobby. And if you remember, Bobby, I talked about Eric Davis when he hit the ball. It sounded like a shotgun going off.
Right.
The first time I ever heard that sound was somebody built just like him. George Foster hit a red seat upper deck home run against the Cubs. The Reds won 3-2. 1990, I probably went to like 45 games that year, including the World Series and the NLCS. And actually, probably my most memorable moment was a regular season game. It was a Sunday night baseball game against the Dodgers. And I grew up hating the Dodgers because the Reds and Dodgers were both in the National League West. It seemed like if one of them didn't win the division, the other one did every year. But this was the game where Norm Charlton's put on as a pinch runner. And there's I think a single, and he's coming home. And the Reds were way behind in this game and made a huge comeback to win the game. And Charlton goes into Mike Scioscia with his shoulder and knocks the ball loose from Scioscia. They score. Place goes nuts. The other one would have been Game 6, 1990 NLCS, where I was with my buddy Mike, and we were sitting in the red seats, right center, I think right field, and there's a ball hit. I forget, it might have been Van Slyke, hits it back to the fence, and Glenn Braggs goes up and robs him of a home run in a game that the Reds won 2-1. Now, where we were sitting, the ball was beneath us, and you couldn't see from the warning track to the fence So all we know is the ball's up there, and we know that he catches it because everybody goes nuts. And then I remember looking up on the Jumbotron, which I think was like right above us over a little bit, and finding out that Braggs just robbed a game-winning home run from him. But yeah, baseball, and that's the thing that disappoints me about it, because baseball to me might have been my favorite sport to watch, just because I know that at least 2 or 3 times a year, my dad would come home at like 4 or 5 o'clock and surprise me with Reds tickets. I remember going to watch Gaylord Perry pitch for the Braves against the Big Red Machine. I remember Randy Jones, who I think was Rookie of the Year in 1978, John the Count Montefiusco, and the feeling when you walked in Riverfront Stadium for the first time as a little kid was just amazing, because I remember that Reds-Cubs game. You walk out, and I know it's a plastic field, this Riverfront Stadium, it's not Wrigley Field, but to me, I lived in this area, so it was. And to see that and actually walk down, and I remember 1976, we went to a Reds-Phillies game on a Sunday, and to this day, my sister was in love with Mike Schmidt, and we were sitting like right behind the Phillies dugout, and he kind of winked and waved at her. She still brings that
up. That's great. And Mike, baseball's so romantic. I mean, these stories, and it's just,
we're not going to date, Lucas. I've told you before when we talked about baseball, we're not dating.
Well, but you get my point. But
me and Bobby and Steve are.
Yeah, maybe.
Wait a second.
Bobby didn't know about Steve.
Bobby lives too close to me. I don't know. Bobby and I live too close together, so we may hook up.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
All right. Well, let's end
Hey,
on
Bobby,
that note.
Bobby, a little weeho.
What?
I'm not involved in this conversation anymore.
A little wee.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap it up. I want to remind everybody to go check out my betnow.eu. I had so much fun today, I forgot to run the commercial. But betnow.eu, you can use the promo code TRUTH50 to get a 50% cashback bonus up to your first $1,000 deposit. So make sure you check them out. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you find sports podcasts. You'll find The Grilling Truth. So for Bobby Sheridan, Lukas Weese, and Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grilling Truth, where the legends speak.